Hey, welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I am your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned along their journey and share them with you as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and get sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social posting. To find out more, feel free to direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. It's Jason A. Osborn. The link will be in the show notes below as well. On the show today, we have our special guest, Frances Day. Frances is an energy healer and soul coach, mainly working with women in business, but she does work with men in business as well. So, Frances, it's great to have you on the call today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jason. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Amazing, amazing. Well, one of the questions I always start off with, because I just love hearing this, and it's a great learning thing, I think, for everyone listening as well. And I know you've done some other things in the past. We were just talking before this. We actually met each other long, many years ago. And if you were to be able to somehow have some sort of time machine and travel back to the younger version of yourself, just starting off in business, bit green behind the ears, maybe a little bit naive in starting up a business, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
That's a great question, isn't it? I think the number one piece of advice I would give myself is stop listening to everyone else's advice and go with that inner knowing. Because when we follow that inner knowing, so we have four brains. We have our head, our heart, our gut, and an etheric brain that sits here in the ether. So people talk about listening to your gut instinct, but actually that's the wrong brain to listen to because your gut instinct is connected to past experiences and it's keeping you safe and playing small. So it goes, oh no, we don't want to go there because that happened last time. That wasn't the right thing to do. Your heart brain is the right brain to listen to. So you have two forks in the road. One take you this way, that one take you that way. The right fork is the one that gives you the most joy. It's what fills your heart with joy. Because if you're doing what you love, you don't work, do you?
Yeah, yeah, amazing. So talk a little bit more then. Like it's really interesting to hear that breakdown of that because I think the gut is where we often lead to, but it is based a lot on experience, which oftentimes, at least from my experience, our experiences are perceived and they're not always real. And
Mm.
so we make judgments based on perception as opposed to reality. So tell us a little bit more, like where, like having that, particularly in business, that heart brain you were talking about going into, what are some key elements to be able to decipher between that gut feel and actually what intuition should we actually be listening to?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to describe it is, especially if you're a bit of a rookie and you've not done that, you're not sort of trained your energy is it's uh it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So
Mm,
this is it's like a trained way of doing things. So the best way to learn how to do it is something called muscle testing, otherwise known as kinesiology. So let's say, for example, I use this a lot. I use it every day. So I might meet someone, excuse me, and I know energetically that I can help them because my body, I'm clairsentient, which means that I feel energy. So I know energetically I can help someone, but I know from the way that they're asking questions that they might need a bit more support than someone else.
mm,
But a great way to do it is what I call muscle testing. So what you do is you ask the question. It's always about asking the right question. And it will be a binary question answer. So it might be yes or no, or it might be a number. So you might say, is it going to be a good thing to work with Jason? And I've pre-programmed so you imagine this is an electronic circuit and this is the probe. And that's yes. And when it doesn't break, it's a no. And intuitively, when you practice it, you'll get to know the answer to this. And like an iceberg, there's so much more beneath the surface than just this logical brain stuff. A lot of coaches teach that, don't they?
Hmm.
So you'll go, so if it breaks, it's a yes, because we absorb information in our subconscious brain at 2 million bits per second. So all the answers are sitting there beneath the surface, and only 22 bits per second in our logical mind. So your subconscious, your energy, your intuition knows all the answers. This is just a really cool, easy way of tapping into it. And then you might say, okay, so how much am I going to charge and how many sessions are we going to need for Jason to get this breakthrough? So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It breaks at 5. So then I go back to 4 and I go 4.5. It's not a good example. We might do this with money, but it's broken at 5, so we know that he needs 5 sessions. Then
Hmm.
I'm going to say, how much should I charge Jason for the work that I do? So in my head, I've got a rough idea. I might think it's between, let's say for ease, 500 and £1,000. So I
Hmm.
go 500, 600, 700, 800, breaks at 800. So I go back to 710, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I'm going to charge £750 for those 5 sessions. It's just you get out of your head and into that intuitive way of thinking. It saves so much time.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. It's it's one of those things I think is as well. I'd be interested to hear your perspective on it. Of just making a decision instead of overthinking all the time.
Yeah,
I know working with my own clients, it's that's the big thing. They're like, what should I do? What should and it's like just pick something, go with it, you know?
yeah,
And that mechanism you just talked about helps us just to make that decision. And
yeah.
experientially, you'll learn more from it because once you've done it, you know. And
That's right. So it's like it's taking what I call aligned action.
yeah,
You're doing is you're telling spirit, God, universe, whatever terminology you use, it's all the same thing. You're telling them that you're serious about whatever task it is that you're going to take up. And
yeah,
the universe will go, yeah, okay, right. They're serious about this. It's always in business, because I know this because I used to run a marketing agency. What I used to say was, if there's an issue with the business, it's always a marketing issue. Because it might be not enough clients, not enough hits on the website, whatever. However,
yeah,
what I know now is it's strategy and energy, and the two things combined because
yeah,
you're taking those aligned decisions because your inner knowing, your intuition, whatever you want to call it, is running the show, and you're not being influenced by 100 different decisions,
yeah,
opinions.
yeah, yeah. That's really important. Um, would that apply, talking about other people's opinions on things, would that apply as well? Because obviously within business, there's you get a lot of different influences and inputs and we're talking about business. You've run a marketing agency before. Obviously, I'm real deep into marketing. It's what I do and coach and train people all over the world with. And there's a million ways you can market, and they all have their benefits and all that sort of stuff. And so you get all this conflicting oftentimes information. Is it the same process that you find really helps people with that as well?
You obviously have to be armed with all the right information to make the right choices.
Hmm.
Um, it made me smile when you introduced the podcast at the beginning because you were talking about doing all that usual stuff that people do, like social media marketing. And we all get to a stage, don't we, where we go, I can't do this anymore. So you either outsource it to someone else or you find a different way of doing it. So the best way to do it is, let's say you need to make a decision and you have 4 different options to take. What I would do is I'd put a summary down on 4 different post-it notes of each different option. I'd give it a number and I'd go, right, which decision do I need to make? 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's number
Mm,
4. Your intuition, I keep wanting to say gut, but it's really not. Your intuition is will always take you down the right path. Because of course that when we speak to 7-figure business gurus who are saying, follow my formula, it's the right way, and you can also have a 7-figure turnover business. That's not the truth. It actually gets me quite angry because I believe that everyone has a gift and everyone has a medicine. Your
mm,
gift is what makes you uniquely you, and your medicine is how you share it with the world. So your gift might be running real intimate groups of people where you're charging a higher price, a premium price, but you light up when you're in a room of 6 people.
mm.
And that 6-figure formula that that guy or woman is teaching is not the right formula for you. It doesn't align with who you are as a business owner. So it's never going to work, is it? Because you feel
Mm.
overwhelmed if you're in big groups, or it triggers you when you're charging, £100,000 for a 12-month program, whatever it is that's stopping you from stepping up into what they're teaching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. It's everyone has their unique process and methodology and all that. And I do agree. I think for those that align with that, it works really well. But it's not the only way. You know, there's lots of different ways to be successful in marketing or business. And it is really the way you frame that, I think, is really, really powerful, Francis. I think it's a really powerful concept that if more people just understand, it will help them so much in what they're doing. Absolutely amazing, amazing. Well,
Yeah.
I was just looking down at the time. We're like at 13 minutes already, which I can't believe. We could go into this a lot more in depth. But for people that really are resonating with what you're saying, and they're like, do you know what? I would really love to understand and hear more about that. What's the best way for people to contact?
I guess the best way is I'm running a weekly 1-hour workshop at the moment, which is called Feminine Raw. And it's a real key understanding of how all this works at a deeper level. But you can contact me on the usual socials, LinkedIn, Facebook. That's the easiest way. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Amazing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, Francis, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure and definitely food for thought for everyone as well. And as a reminder, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of those old traditional methods that everybody hates. Again, if you want more information, just send me a message on LinkedIn, Jason A. Osborn, and we can chat there. In the meantime, we look forward to the next podcast with our next guest, and we'll chat to you guys later. Cheers.